Hey guys, welcome to the podcast. My name is Ashton, and today we are honoring the memory of Kobe Bryant by doing 24 seconds of silence. So, will you join me in that? And we'll go ahead. All right, and today, we are going to start off by talking about the Chiefs, their Super Bowl victory. That has been a long time coming. As a humble Chiefs fan, I can say I've waited for this moment since the era of Trent Green, and we have gone through some of the crappiest quarterbacks known to mankind. The only worse era I could possibly think of is the Browns' run of QBs. But Chiefs Kingdom, we are world champs once again, and we have we had to get out of our comfort zone. We were pretty balanced offensively in the Super Bowl. Offensively, we did a lot of running, um, did a lot of uh, short completions. We didn't really do any big passing plays throughout uh, 3.5 quarters throughout the game. The only big play that they had throughout 3 quarters of the game, 3.5 quarters throughout the game, was to Sammy Watkins for like 20, 30 yards. It wasn't really even that much. And uh, the 49ers defense, I had that feeling with the 49ers defense. It felt like it was the Broncos and Panthers game kind of all over again, and that they were just like dis- they the Broncos were obliterating Cam Newton all game long, and Von Miller kind of became that Super Bowl MVP um, when they won it, and that was like that was a really great defensive effort. And this past Super Bowl, the they almost on every single play they were getting to the quarterback, they were getting in the backfield. Patrick Mahomes just didn't have time to throw, and his receivers just weren't getting open. And then, I mean, it's the Chiefs. You knew eventually that some point in the game they were going to start to get open. Well, that started with 7 minutes left in the game. Defense had to make big plays defensively, and they held the 49ers to a 3-and-out. The Chiefs were down 30, not 31 to 10. They were down 21 to 10. And that you with 7 minutes left in the game, you would think the 49ers would just run, 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 on whatever they do for the rest of the game, and just make sure on God's good green earth, run the football. Well, they didn't, because it's Kyle Shanahan, and Kyle Shanahan was a part of the Falcons team that blew the 28-3 lead. He was actually the offense coordinator then, and he pulled another Kyle Shanahan move and blew a 21-10 lead for it to be 31-21 was the score. I don't even remember the score, but I believe that was the score. And it shocked the world because nobody really expected the 49ers to blow this, because first first go around you would have definitely expected, like, okay, I should have ran the football. Like, if you would have been in that same situation again, you would have been like, okay, don't do what the same mistakes I did in that previous Super Bowl. How about I run the football this time? And it just made all the common sense in the world. Just run the football. And they kept throwing it because they wanted Jimmy Garoppolo to be the Super Bowl MVP. They wanted him to be the hero instead of uh, do what got you there in the first place, which was run the football, run right down their throat. Um, they ran it down everybody's throats. They were running it down the Chiefs' throats for the majority of the game. And the Chiefs would make a big play here and there, but I mean, for the majority of the game, it was the 49ers just obliterating the Chiefs' defense, run defense. And Tyrann Mathieu, after the game, he even admitted, thank God they stopped running the football, you know, because they didn't have uh, a counterattack to stop the Chiefs, to stop the 49ers run game, to the point where it was just terrible for the Chiefs. I mean, they just hoped and begged that they would the 49ers would pass the ball, and of course that's what they did. And they got to quick 3-and-outs, and then that allowed the Chiefs to have the ball. And then the Chiefs offensively, they didn't stop firing on those big plays. They kept going, and they ended up getting straight down the field, and they ended up scoring and taking the lead. And the most dramatic play of the game, I think, was when Damian Williams ended up taking the go-ahead score, and it looked like he might have been out of bounds. I mean, you had to go with the call that was on the field, and that's what they ended up doing, which was going what was called on the field, which was a touchdown. And it looked so close. I mean, it could have gone either way on that call, but they called it a touchdown. And then 49ers, they they had every opportunity in this game to win it. And there was a throw that Jimmy Garoppolo threw at the end of the game towards Emmanuel Sanders. And Emmanuel Sanders, he was double covered, but he had beaten the double coverage to the point where all Jimmy Garoppolo had to do was make just the perfect pass in the world, and he ended up overthrowing him. And if he just didn't overthrow him, they would have scored and possibly won the game, sealed it, but they didn't, and they they ended up going for it on fourth down. Uh, they Jimmy Garoppolo got sacked, and that was the end of the game. Uh, the Chiefs then took the next possession and ran it. I believe it was the first play of scrimmage. They ran it, and he scored. Damian Williams scored, and ironically, as I watched the majority of the Super Bowl. I'll say that there was a good. I probably will admit. I think I stopped watching after Patrick Mahomes threw the second interception because I was fed up, and I was like, "There's no way the Chiefs are going to come back." And I didn't think of Kyle Shanahan being on the other side, but no other if it was the Patriots in that position, they're running the football 3 straight plays. There's no way on God's green earth that they're going to throw the football. They're going to run the football. They would have ran the football. And so I saw that kind of wow. Nice job, Kyle Shanahan. You haven't learned yet. So Kyle Shanahan is now 0-2 in the last 2 Super Bowls. I saw this stat. He has given up 46 points to nothing in his last 2 Super Bowls. Those are just the fourth quarters alone, fourth quarters alone. He has given up 46 points in the fourth quarter to that was Falcons and Patriots Super Bowl, and that was the Chiefs and 49ers Super Bowl, where his offense got outscored 46-0, and they couldn't stop anybody. And you know, as a defensive player, you you stop a team, and then your offense goes on a straight 3-and-out, and then you go on a collision course with Patrick Mahomes. Pat Mahomes ends up scoring on every single possession throughout the rest of the game in that 7-minute stretch, and that kind of seals the deal for us to be champions. And I went to one of the home playoff games. I went to the Texans game, and I'll tell you this. This is how it went. So I hadn't entered the stadium yet, and we had started kickoff. By the time we got into the stadium, it was already 7-0. By the time we got to our seats, it was 14-0. By the time I got to just sit down, relax, start watching football, it was 21-0. It was pretty ridiculous. I was like, so this is what I paid for. I took a friend of mine. His name is Josh, and me and Josh, we were bamboozled. We were like, what's going on here? Like, what? Like, is this really our team? Like, our playoff team? Like, really? And, like, this is what happens when they take 2 weeks off? I mean, jeez. So, that's something I wasn't expecting, but at the same time, I was like, this is the same team that in week 2 of the regular season, they scored 28 points against the Raiders in just the second quarter alone. And so I was telling Josh this, like, second quarter. I was like, hey, this is the same team that put up 28 points against the Raiders. I know it's the Raiders, but still, they have shown they have the ability to throw on points when they want to and whenever they so darn well desire. And he was like, yeah, but that's not what they're doing right now. And so that main thing was the Chiefs were just dropping the ball when they were playing the 49ers, or not the 49ers, the Texans. So there was like Demarcus Robinson, I believe he dropped like 2 or 3 passes. Tyreek Hill ended up dropping a pass. He got obliterated on one play. That, like, everybody, even their grandmother, even could have saw it and said, "Yeah, that's a flag." The dude literally got an illegal hit against him, and every ref on the field was like, just was looking away at the fans and looking at all the fans and was like, I didn't see that. And it was pretty obvious. And then Travis Kelce ended up dropping a couple passes. I mean, you could see their frustration on the field as they were punching the turf. And, like, you know, you'd have better luck if you'd actually catch the ball instead of punching the turf. But it's okay. But I understand. But it was one of those days too where the ball is just cold. Like, it's a solid brick just basically getting thrown at you. So it felt like it was going to be one of those days anyways. Me and Josh, we went to the game last minute together. So he wasn't really prepared for the weather, and he had a coat on and he had blue jeans, but no, he didn't even have a coat on. He had a jacket and some jeans, and he didn't have any gloves. Luckily, I had some hot hands from work that I gave him, and I had a spare pair of gloves in the back that he was able to use, and he ended up putting the hot hands in his shoes. And I kind of found that to be funny because I put on like 4 layers of everything, 4 layers of shirts, 4 layers of pants, 4 layers of socks. And that was that was kind of it. And I had a hat and I had a big coat on. So on the way home, uh, I had the heat on full blast because I couldn't feel a thing and I was still kind of cold. But Josh was like sweating the entire ride home. He was like, you really had to have that full blast. And I was like, I was cold for the majority of of the way home. But yeah. And uh, we had a very fun time with that. And ironically, Josh knows my cousins down in Louisiana. And it was, that's kind of where he grew up for a little bit. Um, he met my cousins down in Louisiana, and then he works with me at Chick-fil-A. I'm actually a team lead at Chick-fil-A, so he comes into Chick-fil-A, and the only reason I knew that he had any relationship or he might know my cousins was his Instagram. My cousins were following him, and I talked to him. I was like, "Hey, do you know my cousins at all?" And they were like, "Oh, who's your cousins?" And I told him their names, and he was like, "Oh my gosh, I had no idea. Like, really? Those are your cousins?" And I was like, "Yeah, they're my cousins." And he was like, "Man, I love your family. Like, they're so cool, and like I speak highly of them, and uh, like I miss them dearly. Like, what a small world." And I was thinking the same thing. And so the Chiefs and Texans game, I took Josh, and that was last minute, and it ended up being a great time. My uncle actually called me after that game, and because he found out, because my dad told uh, my uncle that I was taking this kid Josh, and he was from Louisiana to the game, and my uncle called me and was like, "Whoa, like you took Josh," and like he spoke highly of Josh's family. So it was the whole ordeal was kind of cool and pretty cool, and put you in perspective of how small the world really can be. And um, so yeah, Chiefs were Super Bowl champs, and uh, so now I'm going to talk about a little bit about Kobe Bryant for about 5 minutes. Um, so what Kobe Bryant meant to me growing up, I didn't really watch basketball growing up. I didn't watch until I got into the 6th grade, so I didn't really watch any of Kobe's championships. Um, I watched him um, as LeBron was on the Heat. That's when I started watching basketball. Was when LeBron started playing for the Heat in Miami, and that was basically the end of Kobe's pretty much era. And I knew that he meant a lot for LA as a whole. Kobe did so much for LA. He is Kobe played in another arena before Staples Center. It was his first couple seasons as a rookie. Um, it was in another arena. I don't remember off the top of my head what that arena name is, but they he played in another arena. But then as a couple years went on, I think he became a starter when the Staples Center was built, and he became a starter ever since. And he really basically Staples Center is his building. It's his stadium. That's his home. And Shaq, I remember Shaq was tearing up hearing the news of Kobe. So if you don't know what happened to Kobe Bryant, um, Kobe Bryant and his daughter Gigi, um, he was taking his daughter Gigi and a few friends to Gigi's basketball game, and on their way to a game, their helicopter crashed, and Kobe Bryant, his daughter Gigi, and 7 other people had died on that helicopter. And there's been a lot of support going out to Vanessa and the rest of the Bryant family. Um, Kobe loved his daughter to death. I know that for a fact. I mean, it was blatantly obvious. And I straight up cried for about 5-10 minutes um, at a time that that day. I actually told one of my pastors uh, that when it happened, and he was in straight up shock. He was like, "What? No, that can't be true. What?" And like like Kobe is that icon that you feel like he's a legend. He would never die. Like that's something that doesn't just happen to him, and it ended up happening to him. And uh, so I watched a lot of his highlights that day, and I saw like I was waiting for like D Wade's videos of him like talking about his stories, and uh, the main person I was really waiting on was LeBron. I didn't get to hear from LeBron for another like 2-3 days. Ironically, like LeBron had just passed Kobe third time all scoring list, and the day before, and LeBron told him in the interviews of his first memories of Kobe Bryant and how he was in high school and uh, seeing Kobe and just really like idolizing him. And he got a pair of his shoes, I believe that's what he told me. Told he was saying in that interview and post game interview, and it was just really it was it was a whirlwind. Um, that's kind of I really liked Kobe Bryant, especially when he had his 60-point game. I was rooting him on because um, I didn't really know how I felt about Kobe growing up. I didn't hate him, but at the same time, I didn't like him. He had that villainous kind of sway to him, and the way he treated his teammates, oh my gosh, especially in practices. There's a couple videos that I watched recently where he straight up like cussed people out. He didn't care, and he would just talk down to people. Like he was just like a total jerk, and but that was competitive. That was his competitive drive. That was him trying to make everybody better, um, trying to make themselves play at their hardest, play at their best potential that they possibly could, and that was just his way of like getting the best out of you. And I see that now, and like it also like that also tells you in life like there's don't like hold grudges like against people. Just don't like life is precious. Life can be taken any moment at any given moment, and hold the ones that you love closest to you. Like just hold on tight to them. Always tell them I love you. That was kind of what I took away from this whole Kobe Bryant death, and that's what I wanted to share with you guys and what Kobe Bryant meant to me. I loved him. I love him now, and uh, I think I found that love for Kobe when he had his 60-point game, and I actually cried when he scored 60, and I was like, man, I'm never gonna watch this guy play basketball ever again. And I actually monitored Kobe throughout his whole entire last season, and I kind of wanted to watch like every Lakers game that came on. Like I actually enjoyed watching him, and to know that he's passed is really heartbreaking. And my prayers go out to the Bryant family. I know that they've been dealing with a lot, and a loss of a father now is just, and a daughter is just like it's probably pretty hard, and um, so prayers go out to them. And speaking of basketball, the Lakers, they've been doing pretty well. Again, they're still top of the East, and they've there's been some trades going on and throughout this this past week was the trade deadline, and the Lakers didn't actually make any moves. And there was a couple players in particular that we were trying to see if they would get out of the buyer's market. Andre Iguodala, he was a potential of going to the Lakers. He actually went and got traded to Miami. And another player, he's in retirement right now. Darren Collison. We were waiting to see if he would make a decision on if he would like to come out of retirement and play for the rest of the season. He decided that he wanted to stay in retirement. Um, so those were a couple of names that ESPN and Fox have been keeping an eye on, seeing if if they would come to the Lakers to help just grow depth in their lineup. And there's been a lot of uh, Kyle Kuzma has been playing a lot better now since the beginning of the season. Beginning of the season, he was injured, and then he kind of had to work his way into the lineup, and he just it's it's been up and down for him. I think the Anthony Davis injury kind of helped him a little bit because he got into that starting role, and he started playing a lot better and playing more sound offensively and defensively, and just playing his game again. Um, was kind of key for him. I knew that. And he's kind of the last young asset that the Lakers have and that they want to keep. And it's pretty important for Kyle to be ready for the playoffs. This is a situation that he's never been in before because he was a rookie a year before. And so it'll be interesting to watch what Kyle how Kyle goes about things, and I'm excited to watch the Lakers this in the playoffs. Um, the the depth that they have, especially at center, they can play. They can play Dwight Howard. They can play JaVale McGee. They could put Anthony Davis if they so wanted to at center. Even though he doesn't want to play center, he wants to play power forward. He could also play center if need be. Um, there's just a lot of factors that go into it, and they have their main concern was point guard depth. That's something that the Darren Collison ordeal was kind of a little bit big. They were trying to get him, and he said if he were to come back, the LA teams is one of the teams that he'd probably choose. So it basically came down to the LA teams, and then he decided overall that he didn't want to be a part of the NBA this year, which he has full right. He wanted to be with his family. I'm pretty sure that's what it was. And Darren Collinson, he's made a ton of money. He actually gave up $30 million on the table to go be with his family, and that's his right. I mean, it's his career. It's eventually it's what you want to do with your life. Um, it doesn't always pertain to basketball, and he decided, you know what, I'm just gonna retire and go enjoy time with my family, and so that's what he did, and all power to him. That's what Dwayne Wade did. Dwayne has now played way longer than Darren, but it was I knew it was D Wade's time, and D Wade seems humble. And actually, D Wade just did one of his first episodes on TNT uh, last week, um, and it with him doing work with TNT is kind of cool. Getting getting to see D Wade as an analyst on TV. That's kind of cool. What Kobe did for ESPN Plus, that was also pretty cool. Like how he broke down footage uh, of which player he was deciding to pick on, and like breaking down what they were doing and what they could have done better in that situation. And that stuff is always cool to me. Like I look at that and I'm like, whoa, that stuff sounds like really cool. Like you get into a deeper knowledge of the game and what and how professionals are seeing it at the top of their game, and ways to always improve and get better. And that was what Kobe installed in everybody. I think that's like he was the impediment of hard work, and like hard work leads to success, and it will always come through for you. And Kobe Bryant had all the talent in the world. He didn't have to work hard, but he chose to do it anyways. He wanted to be the best in the world, and that's what he decided to do. And mama mentality, as we say, and he has that mama mentality. That's just basically him going the extra 10 miles when he only needed to do 1 mile. He decided, you know what, I'm just go ahead and make it 10 miles. And that's what he did for not just the Lakers. He did that for the brand of the NBA. He's like, you could see it in his championships. Like, he worked his butt off to get 5 championships. Like, you think 5 championships just kind of just happened into his lap? He worked his butt off for those championships. And I he like I saw in an interview, he said the only championship that he'd ever that he wanted more than anything was to beat the Celtics. So the 2008 um, finals where the Celtics beat the Lakers, that's the only one that he was haunted by, and that technically would have been his 6th ring. And he would be tied with Michael um, for rings, and you would have to put him at the same. But Kobe Bryant was arguably this generation's Michael Jordan, and I think LeBron will soon be uh, my Michael Jordan, pretty much. Um, the, Kobe would be more of, per se, Passer Andrews Michael Jordan, his generation. And so that's what I take from that. And we'll see with who will be the next Michael Jordan in the next generation. There's a possibility it could be Zion. That's a possibility. But we'll wait and see. There's nothing cemented or guaranteed at the moment. But that's kind of all I have for you guys today. Thank you for listening into the podcast. Check out my other videos. I know that I have 9 to 10 other videos out there for you. Click and subscribe. Leave comments. I'd like to hear feedback, so just leave that. Thank you guys. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.